Welcome to the Love and Growth Podcast. My name's Jason. This is Danielle, and we appreciate you guys being here. So, something came up for me that I wanted to talk about. I know we haven't really discussed this beforehand. I kind of wanted to go off the fly with where this was. But I had a post come up on social media, and it was basically like, stop taking things for granted. And it could be anything for a person, a process, a system, or just anything. And I think for me, excuse me, what really resonated home for me is a couple different areas. And I just wanted to kind of put them out there was like showing appreciation to the other person, not taking it for granted. The second one is watching the baby grow up and realizing like watching her learn things and having to scale back what we're showing her and things that we've taken for granted was like, we know how to make letters. We know how to do this. So figuring out a different way to think in order to educate and grow from that perspective. And the final thing for me was really being grounded with where I'm at now and where we're going. And I think I lost track of a lot of different things and I lost the ability to see those little pieces. And I think the catalyst for me, and then I'll, I definitely want you to get your opinion, but watching the baby growing up right now has made me try to think of life differently in the sense of the thing that I take for granted and the things that we do on a daily basis, the way that we interact on a daily basis that has become routine in some areas. And we're losing track of that connection of each other through those processes and losing track of the basic things that made us special or made us start to care in a certain way or made us certain act in a certain way that we just take for granted and that we just assume that the other person's going to do or say or show up as. And I really wanted to dive deeper because it's been rattling on my head a lot. And I didn't come to you with it because I couldn't really voice it and figure it out. But that's really where I've been over the last, I'd say a few days specifically, just trying to figure out a different way to operate where I don't lose track of all the little things.
So you throw this at me on a podcast.
Yeah. It's because
real life coming at you guys.
it's really sticking in my head really hard, and I know and it might be for some people, it might not be for anybody. But the idea is that there's a different way to do things, but you can't lose track of the little things in life. You can't lose track of what makes the other person special. You can't lose track of really showing appreciation. You can't lose track of all these things that made things special or made things better or learned a new way to do things.
Yeah.
It's all kind of come like a big circle for me.
Yeah. With the appreciation thing, like for sure, that's a big one. And I think it's almost like sometimes we even forget to just say thank you.
100%.
It's like you'll do something little, like it doesn't matter if it's me doing something little for you, you doing something little for me, like, and we just like, oh, can you get me water? Okay, here you go. And like, we forget to be like, oh, thank you. Like,
yeah,
you didn't have to do that for me, and you did. Like, I appreciate you. And it's simple to have just those small tasks and mundane things being like, oh, like, I am thankful for you. I am, just in that little way. And like on top of that, like I know especially that there's times where like you're working your ass off and you think I don't see you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I don't take the time to stop to say, hey, I do see you and I do appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways.
And I think it's just, and it's not anything malicious. It's not anything that we're purposefully like, well, just fuck that person. Like, it's just life. Yeah. And it's just the day to day. And so lately, especially like I've been trying to be conscious of that and taking a pause and saying like, babe, I love you. I appreciate you. And I believe in you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a conscious effort for everybody. And I think the idea being that we get so wrapped up in the day to day everything that those little things, it's almost wrapped up as an afterthought. Like, well, they know how much I care. They know how much I appreciate. They know, like, we get that story in our head where it's like, they already know, they already know, they already know. When in turn, yeah, I mean, we already know.
We know, but we still like to feel it.
To feel it, to hear it. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that's the thought that came to me, especially watching the baby do like a bunch of new skills that she's learning. It's like, hey, remember those little things? Hey, remember that little thing that we did there, or we used to do that, or anything like that? Like seeing those kind of cycle, and I know it's funny watching kids grow up. For those of you who do have kids, you'll understand what I'm saying. Don't, you will at some point if you do. But seeing her experience something for the first time or learn that skill where you have to really go down to the nitty gritty of like, hold this like this, push this like that, move that over there like that, like those simple things, to turn around and look at your relationship and go, if we just brought back those simple steps of connection, those simple steps of communication, and the simple steps of just showing gratitude for each other, like those things meant a lot. Like you think about it and you go, when we dated, we did all those things. There was a conscious effort to stay in communication, in talk, and do this and do that. And then as you go through the years, through the decades, all that kind of stuff is like, well, there's got to be another way. There's got to be a higher level to this. When reality, if you get really good at the basics, you become an expert. Right. When you get really good at a certain skill set, you become an expert.
Right. But I think what happens is people get so comfortable in where they are and they forget to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Right. Like you just made a post the other day of Jordan just had his first driver's test, and you just made a post about going back to the basics and knowing like, okay, I need to stop 1, 2, 3. I need to do a turn signal. I need to learn how to brake and hit the gas and maintain speed. Like, you have to learn all that step by step. And then now, like, compared to you, right? So he's learning driving. You took him for the driver's test. So he's learning all of this and how to actually use a car. And you're like, well, I just get in the car and go. Mm-hmm. And the relationship's the same way. Like in the beginning, you're learning about each other. You're growing together. You're learning all this step by step. After a decade, like, you just get in and go.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to step back and say, okay, well, no, like, I still need to date my spouse or partner, even if you're not married, like, date, flirt, and make that connection again and respect your partner and show them that and have gratitude for how far you've come together. And don't forget to enjoy each other.
Yeah. Because I think back and I go, okay, well, I mean, I we've said it 100 times, like I have a morbid curiosity when it comes to looking at things and to the future and everything like that. And I look at it and I go, all right, I got a week left. Like what types of things are coming into my head? Like what types of things do I want to do? What types of things should I be plugging my energy into? And I look at it and I go, there's a lot of things that we used to do that I'm like, damn, I wish I did that. Damn, I wish we did that. And it's not things like, oh, I wish we took a vacation to X, Y, and Z island. It was like, damn, I wish we, I would love to hold hands more. I would love to do this more. I'd love to do that more. And it's those types of things when you put it in that kind of perspective that it's like, why the fuck don't I do those anymore? Like, why don't we do that to the level that we used to or figure that stuff out? And I think for me, it could be a bunch of different reasons, of course, but for me, it's like I lost track of being present in the moment. Mm-hmm. I lose track of saying, like, we talk about date night. This is going to be a big one for me. We talk about date night, and date night is supposed to be a time for us to connect, to just talk, and that's what we do 99% of the time. We talk, we have fun, we everything like that. But at the end of it, I also turn around and look and go, was I truly present in that moment? Can I look at these things and say, like, this is what we talked about. This is what we connected on. Or was I having a conversation kind of half in, half out where I was still mentally like worried about work, figuring this out, have to do this system, have to build that. Like I lose track and I lose appreciation to just be in the moment. Even when I know that I need to spend more time deliberately there.
Right.
Because that's where I want to be. That's where I need to be.
Yeah. Well, I think it's easy to do that. Like, I think it's easy to have life in all those situations and everything there that we do space out or daydream or, whatever. And I know, like, I'm guilty too of, you say it all the time, like, be where your feet are.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm guilty of going like, well, this is where I want to be. And when I start looking so much at the future of like, this is where I want to be, then I stop appreciating where we are. Like it's okay. I look for, hey, I want a bigger house. Hey, I want to have our own pool. Hey, I want to have X, Y, and Z in the future. And it's like, okay, but right now, like, fuck, look at where we came from. Like, I had a dream all the time as a little girl. I'm going to live in Florida and like, be in the tropics and all that. And like, we're living in Florida. We have the sunshine. Like, we live right outside of theme parks, which is where we wanted to be. Like, look at how far we've come. And I think sometimes we get so distracted with where we want to go and so far ahead of that, we forget to look at this present moment and say, fuck, like I did it. Mm-hmm. This was a dream at one point, and I'm living my dream. And I think we forget to stop and look at that and have gratitude for that moment and have gratitude for how far we have come.
Yeah, you lose that appreciation for it. And I think that's the other big thing where you look at it and you go, okay, if I have a week to go, that's it. I get one more week. Where am I spending my time? Where am I going to have the most impact? Where do I get to have the most joy? Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, and I look at people, and I've had this conversation with people, and they tell me like, well, I wouldn't work. And my question is, well, then why are you working in that job to begin with? Mm-hmm. Well, we'd spend more time together. Okay, so why aren't you spending more time together? And the thought that I had is like, if you don't want to do these things, then don't do these things. I mean, the simple point. If you don't want to do it, then stop doing it. If you don't like the job that you're in, then find a different one. If you don't like the relationship and the way it's operating, then treat it differently. And I think the idea of delving yourself so far in and just say like accepting that to be where you are instead of stopping and appreciating like what you've done so far and losing track of the little things that make things special. Mm-hmm. It's just destroying thought process for people. It's destroying the ability for people to think about the future.
Right. Well, no, like, I mean, my problem is that I think too far into the future, and then I get stuck to what I want and where the future is going, rather than being happy where we are. Like, that's my big problem. So for me, it's almost like, that like if you had a week left to do, like, what would you be doing? Like, puts it into reality to enjoy the moment of where you are.
Yeah.
Don't, because if you're dead in a week, the future doesn't matter.
Well, the other thing with that is like, if you are aligning yourself with the future, it means that's the future that you want. So if you have a week left to live, the things that you should be doing in that week are the things that you like to do that are moving you to that future because you like to do them, that you enjoy those steps and you enjoy those processes. If you're working in a place that's giving you tasks daily that you hate, chances are you're not moving to the future that you want. You're just going to get more of the shit that you hate because that's what you're stacking. So the idea is, I'm tired of losing vision and losing appreciation for the little things because we either focus too far on the past or we focus too far on the future and we're not connected with the right now like you're talking about. But the other fact of that is, I think what happens is the future we are so attached to, we're not setting the actual actionable items that make us want to go there. And we're not appreciating those on a daily basis. So when you're setting those standards, you're saying, this is where I'm going. Like, why are you picking fucked up tasks to get there then? Why are you wasting time on shit that doesn't fill your cup to make you happy? Like, yeah, some of the things that you're going to do are going to suck, but if they're connected to your bigger vision, like, you should be enjoying that process. You should find a way to enjoy those pieces, whether they're something you're comfortable with or hate or whatever, but like, you should find love in those things because you're growing.
Right. But when we live in the future, we're not living in our now. And when we live in the future, it causes like anxiety and things like that. Like for me, it's like, I want to live in the future. I want to be there already. So I'm not happy with our present time.
Right.
And then, like you get anxiety, like, oh, well, I have X, Y, and Z that I need to get done by X, Y, and Z. And then it's like, oh, that causes you anxiety. And that's because you are living in that future moment instead of right now where you are, where you need to be.
And that's true.
Like, does that make sense?
Yep.
So, like, where that, so it's not that I am not enjoying the process. Like, again, it is like you have to pause and take that moment to be like, well, look at how far we came in that process.
Not to interrupt with it, but here I want to dive into that real quick because it's not about enjoying the process. I get that, but here's the problem that I see. Are you stuck on the anxiety of the future to want to get that? And then does that anxiety stop you from doing the process now? Does that stop you from taking the steps that you need to in the present?
Yes, that's my point, is that when you're living too much in the future and like what you want the future to be like, when you're living too much in that space that you want to create and not enough in the present moment, it causes anxiety and stress and unhappiness because you're not enjoying where you are and you're not going through that process. You're just living at like, I don't have this yet, so like
you go the opposite route and do nothing.
Right.
So that's what I mean. So at that point, like, you need to think about it in the terms of like, okay, well, these are the steps of, if we're connecting the dots, like, we can want something and be anxious. And I think I heard a coach say at one point, like, if you're extremely anxious, you're living too much in the future. If you're extremely depressed, you're living too far in the past.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was trying to.
Yeah, and I think that idea is the more you get wrapped up in the don't haves or I've had, and not the actual connection with the love and the life that you're living. I understand the gratitude for how far we've come, but I think you can't even live in the, well, this is how far we've come. I think you need to live in the, this is what I need to do.
Right. But I think to have gratitude, you have to stop and say like, wow, look at where we are right now.
Right. No, true. 100%. And I think it's a great point. And the one thing that I've looked at, and I did a big training with goal setting today with one of the guys in my group. And I said, well, the big thing that came out of it is I watch people talk about goal setting, and I watch people use setting goals or roadmaps or everything like that as an excuse to not actually move forward. Mm-hmm. And I feel like what you're saying is kind of that exact point is, I want this so bad, like, but they don't take the follow-up step to say, well, if that's what my life is going to be like, I need to take action now.
Right. It's almost like you're paralyzed because you're only focused on that.
Yeah.
So like the way that we set goals and the way that we maintain it is like, yeah, I want that. So let me backtrack to how I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
Rather than like, I want that and I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, but I'm pissed off because I don't have that.
Right. And I think there's a big disconnect between where you want to go, where you are, and I've heard people, and a couple of guys that I've coached on this, they've talked about like, oh, it's habit stacking. Atomic Habits talks about that. Like, if I'm going to get this done, I got a habit stack. And the biggest thing that I realized is it's not just about habit stacking. The idea of the future is not just about habit stacking. The idea of the future is you have to physically see it and want it so bad that taking the actions is non-negotiable to get there. Like, it almost becomes an obsession that I need to get there. But in order to get there, the obsession needs to be the track to get there.
Right. Well, this is like, I've said this before, and it's kind of what got me off the couch, right? It's when the pain of where I am is greater than the fear of where I want to be is when I make change.
Yeah. No.
So it's almost like your current situation you have to feel more pain in that than you do the fear of making changes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, change perspective. The perspective has to change. Like, you got a week left. Fuck are you gonna do? You gonna take that week to just fuck off and sit down, or are you gonna actually live?
Yeah.
And I think that's to kind of circle back to the beginning. Like, I wasn't living. I was losing track of being appreciative in the living phase of everything, and the baby steps that it took to move forward and to figure things out. And that ability that I was connected to figure out more, to learn more, to grow faster, to do these things. And I think the change in perspective has come a long way for me in the sense that watching this cycle repeat for her, growing and learning and processing and doing, now she's in the big do it on her own things, and watching that escalate. And
walked into the bathroom today and she's trying to clean up her own pee.
Yeah, I mean,
it's good times.
But thinking about that, like, how far have we fallen in our own lives that we lose track of how good it feels to move forward, to take a half a step forward, to try something new? Scary as it could be. You could fall, you could fail, you could do anything, but what if you don't? What if you, what is that feeling when you take the next step and you succeed? What is that feeling when you plug into somebody and you say, thank you, I love you? That feeling of that one piece.
But that's the thing too, is like, you have to take the action on it.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, you can learn and study all the books that you want, but if you don't do anything from that lesson, then what's the point of studying it?
Yeah, just to check the box.
What's the point of learning more if you're not going to use it for growth? If you're not going to take action on that, then why do you need 20 million certificates on your wall if you're not going to fucking do anything for it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, just gaining knowledge has no point if you're not going to back it up with action.
Yeah, and that's I watch it so much to see people hold themselves back because they're not connected with their own journey. They're not connected with their own ideas, and they're held up by whatever it is. I mean, everybody's different. 9 times out of 10, it's their own stories. But losing track of that appreciation for the feeling of accomplishment, the feeling of gratitude, losing track of those little wins because we focus so much on the negative, I think is something that it's really gotten me thinking a lot about everything, relationships and future and business and kids and all the things where I'm like, where am I missing out on connection because of this feeling or this story or this, that?
But that's how we're programmed, right? We're programmed to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're so programmed to focus on the negative that we have to consciously think of the positive and the gratitude.
Yeah, I mean, and anybody that says they don't focus on the negative, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because if I told you 10 things, one of them was wrong, what is the one thing you would remember? You'd remember the one thing I got wrong. But if we flip the script and we say, okay, I'm telling you 10 things, I got 9 of them wrong and one of them right, do you flip it over and you focus on the one thing I got right, or you focus on the 9 things that are wrong? It doesn't matter. We do the same thing in our own life. So I have to be appreciative not only for the 9 things that I got right or the one thing that I got right. I need to follow the path that I'm setting up for myself in every aspect of this relationship in my life, where I'm like, I'm connected to this so much so that if I have 1 week left, these are the things that I want to continue to do. These are the way that I want to continue to live. These are the opportunities and the experiences that I know that I want to have. And it comes down to daily actions. It comes down to setting my frameworks from the morning, hitting my daily action plans, hitting all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, if I had a week left, I would still do the same thing. I'd still get up. I'd still move. I'd still play with the baby. I'd still connect with you. We'd still have date night. We'd do all the things. Like I would make that last week, or I still want to go out and I want to help people. I want to help them through P4 connection. I want to help them in my, coaching business. I want to do all the stuff because I know that the end game for me is to help as many people as possible. And I'm connected to that. And even more so now, looking at the bits and pieces that we need to do, like that's what I'm plugged into, and I'm not going to miss those things anymore. And, you brought up, be where your feet are at. And I don't give a shit. Like, it's not about work life balance. It's about intention. It's about actually spending quality time in where you are and wherever you're at. Like, you're physically, mentally, emotionally present for those
Right.
people or that moment or that opportunity, whatever it is. Like, if you could put your head on the pillow and you physically were present through that day, like, it feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not easy,
It's not easy.
because we daydream or we zone out or we're like, oh, yeah, I'm kind of half paying attention, but then I'm
It's
really thinking about X, Y, and Z. So it is very hard to be present in the moment, but it's something that if you can consciously work on, like, it's worth it. And that's something you've been working on consistently um, for, I don't even know how long. But, where you're like, if I'm at work, then I need to be at work. And then when I am with, the kids, I'm fully with the kids. Or if it's day night or just time for us, then you're fully in that moment. And it's something that, like, I've seen you consistently working on that. And it's also transitioned us to growth, to like better opportunities and just more quality time that matters, because it's like you're giving your all then to your business. You're giving your all then to me. You're giving your all then to the kids because you're being present in that time. So you're working harder. Like, you don't have to work longer because you're more focused. So instead of filling yourself with busy tasks, you're actually getting shit done, which in turn, like, you don't have to work so long.
Gives you more time. Yeah. Well, because I'm now, I've transitioned my thought pattern. I don't believe that people can multitask. Sorry. I don't believe you're never going to fully be into one thing if you're multitask. So if I'm spending time with you and I'm multitasking where I'm thinking of business, I'm not there with you. If I'm multitasking on my phone while playing with the kids, I'm not there with the kids. Something is not getting my attention. And that's the other thing that does is that leads people to understand where your priorities are. So if I'm at dinner with you and my head is not with you, my priority isn't you. If I'm with the kids and my head is in the phone, my priority is the phone, regardless if I'm physically next to them. So the idea for me is I need to be here. I can't lose track of this moment. And I think that is one of the, I'm not near close to good at it, but I am very conscious of it a lot more recently than I have been. And I know that what this has done for me has allowed me to be much more connected with the opportunities and the moments that I get.
Right. And lately, I've been very conscious of being grateful for where we are and giving you gratitude and making sure I tell you that I appreciate you. Because, like, as silly as it sounds, like, that I have to be conscious of giving you appreciation, but, like, women aren't wired that way. Like, we take care of the kids because that's what we do. We clean the house because that's what we do.
Right.
So it's like, to know that you need that, like, appreciation, that I respect you, I believe in you, here it is, like, I want to give that to you. So that's like my way of being present, is saying, like, you're working on all of that and I see you and I'm with you and I appreciate you and I believe in you, and it helps me feel connected to your movement.
And I want to say something about that, and we can wrap it all up, and I don't want to lose track of what you just said. I want people to realize that you don't have to focus on the same things at the same times. My focus is being present in the moment in one way. Hers is focused on present in another way. Like, they don't have to be the same. We don't function the same. We don't operate the same. I need to function my way. She needs to function her way. Regardless of that, we're still walking the same path. We're still going the same way. We're just doing it differently. And I think too often we wrap up and say, like, well, we're both doing this and we're both doing that. And that doesn't have to fucking happen, because you're at that point, then you're not connected with those things because it's my way and I'm not connected with your things. Like, I don't stop to think about that type of gratitude because that's not the function that I'm trying to work on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't be afraid to do things separately. Don't be afraid to operate two different ways if you're still going the same path. The biggest thing that I could say is be on the same fucking path.
Mm-hmm.
Take two different cards if you fucking have to, but be on the same path. As long as you're going in the same direction, when you feel like you're both on the same road and one person takes a fucking off ramp and you're still going, you have to stop for a second and go, what happened?
Yeah.
You realign, you get back on track, set the GPS again and go. But I think for me, understanding that we do think differently, operate differently. I have a much different style of thought process, which works for me, that doesn't necessarily work for you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like, we're still on the same road. And I think coming together and figuring these things out and understanding where we are and where we're going and working on the process together, I don't want to lose track of that.
Right. And that's like, and that goes back to exactly what you just said. Like, we each have our own goals, but our individual goals align with our life goals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important, and it's important to still have something that you're connected to because that's the only way you're going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way you're going to take action.
Yeah, because you have to feel it. It has to connect deeper with you. I think that's true. That's it's a deeper one for me, and there's a lot more growing that needs to happen. There's a lot more that I'm still constantly working on and figuring out. But you know, it's pretty incredible to stop and realize like this is what I want to do, who I want to do it with, and look at the little things that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's big. Anything else to add?
Yeah.
No. So hopefully you guys took something from this. I mean, I really appreciate you guys being there. We really appreciate you being here.
Yes.
And please, when you leave this today, like really get connected with where you are. Plug into like your feelings of gratitude, your current state, like be honest to where you are and where you want to make changes. If you have 1 week left, like what changes? Like how many people's lives could you impact in a week? It's a fucking lot. So that's our path. That's our goal. We do things differently. We do things together. But at the end of the day, we're here to help. We're here to see you win. We want to see you love. We want to see you love hard and just keep moving forward. So with that being said, please like, subscribe, share all the platforms, leave us comments and keep the messages coming. Like honestly, please, truly, Love and Growth Podcast on Instagram if you don't know it, and just follow us, let us know. And then if you're interested in the coaching group, p4connection.com. I'll leave the link in the description below. And until next time, we appreciate you. I love you.
Love you.
See you guys later.
Bye.